we are in a state of emergency when it comes to democracy in this country, as well as policing. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I think the American people want to see dramatic action on both of these issues. And so we'll be talking about that tomorrow with President Biden.
Mark Morial, president and CEO of the National Urban League, will be one of several leaders from civil rights groups meeting with President Biden tomorrow to focus on voting rights. Back with us, Cornell Belcher and Stuart Stevens. Cornell, you are a pollster, so I want to ask you about this NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll. The left side of the poll talks about whether you're concerned about voter access. The right side is voter eligibility. 85% of Democrats are more concerned with voter access. 25% of Republicans are concerned about voter access. 72% of Republicans are concerned about voter eligibility, meaning people who are not eligible to vote actually voting in elections. Could you please tell this audience how big a deal that is, how much of an issue people who are ineligible voting in elections is in America?
Well, Ali, as you know, because I quite frankly seen you cover it before, is we don't have widespread voter fraud in this country. We don't have widespread problems with ineligible voters voting in this country. It is all part and parcel of the big lie, and the Republican base has completely bought into that big lie. And that's part of the problem with what's going on right now is once you start lying, you can't get off of that off of that train. So everything you're seeing happening right now has to feed into that lie. The good news coming out of that poll, though, is you still do have a majority of independent voters in this country who are more concerned about voter access. And it goes back to the initial point. Fighting for democracy is a winning issue for Democrats if they embrace it going into the midterms.
So, Stuart, here's the problem, because I've had a number of conservatives say to me, well, don't you want elections to be safe? Shouldn't we make elections absolutely as safe as we can? No way to argue with that. We should have elections. But our elections are fundamentally safe. People have bought into the idea that there was fraud. And as you know, a number of Republicans, a plurality of Republicans, think there might have been some shenanigans in this election leading to Joe Biden's victory and presidency.
Yeah, look, this has never happened before, that a national party has adopted the position that the president of the United States is not elected legally. And if Joe Biden is an illegitimate president, that means we don't live in a democracy. We live in an occupied country. And that's just at the heart of the danger of the path that these Republicans have gone down. I mean, they are the heirs to the legacy of the greatest generation who fought fascism, who fought people who had the same views about limiting people to vote. Listen, I went out there and I did these races across the country for years. Republican governors and senators in over half the country, 5 presidential races. There is not a problem with voter fraud in this country. It simply doesn't exist.
Cornell, in Texas, House Republicans are heading into a special legislative session. They're proposing banning drive-through and overnight early voting again. And as Lawrence was saying earlier tonight, it sort of looks like Texas Republicans have looked at everything that worked to get people out to vote and have decided we're going to ban this. And this is something that's catching on all across America. Again, the impetus for this is stopping fraud, stopping bad things from happening. But in Texas, like in Arizona, like in Michigan, like in Pennsylvania, like in Georgia, bad things didn't happen. More people just voted.
Well, can we be real here for a moment? The really predicate about this is to stop people who, quite frankly, look like me from exercising political power. And the truth of the matter is, you're going to hear more calls about a stolen election as the country over the next decade and a half moves closer to majority minority, because those playing the zero-sum racial game and those playing that tribalism game, they think that every political stride that people who look like me make in this country is them losing out. So until we have that real conversation about we're all one America, it's not you don't lose if in fact the black man is elected president. Your tribe isn't losing. We're going to have real problems. I only see this accelerating as we come closer to that moment in this country where we begin to tilt toward a majority minority country, and politically those trying to stop minorities and progressives from exercising their political power.
I hope you're wrong, Cornell. Problem with you is that you're not often wrong. Cornell Belcher, Stuart Stevens, thank you guys for being with us tonight.